Good afternoon. It's Friday, April 26th, and I want to give you an update on what's going on at the Capitol. As you likely know, on both sides of the aisle, people are completing their omnibus bills where they put all the bills around a certain topic together. On the House side, yesterday, the House floor, on the House floor, they approved the Health and Human Services omnibus bill. So I have a big ask related to this. That bill included a number of things that have been really important to us and that all of you have been advocating for. The increase for MFIP families that haven't gotten anything in over 30 years was included in that bill. There are also a number of changes to the CCAP program, the Child Care Assistance Program, making child care more readily available to families experiencing homelessness, a slight increase in the provider rate because they are using a more updated survey, and funds to get approximately 1,000 families off the waiting list. So that would be wonderful. Governor Walz is supportive of all of those. So those are the two biggest things in the HHS committee. So a couple asks on that. If people would contact all of their representatives, especially if they're Democrats who would have voted yes, and thank them for their support on this bill. We want to make sure as they go into conference that they're hearing from constituents how important these specific programs are. Because when you go into conference, the Senate says what they want, the House says what they want. We want to make sure that we're really hearing that these are important issues to people of faith across the state. Related to that, we also are continuing our push to get individual letters from people about the value of the Minnesota Family Investment Program, MFIP. There was never a hearing on the program in the Senate, so although people are familiar with the program, whoever's appointed to the conference committee on the Senate side will not have heard any stories recently, at least about that. So we're working with the Coalition for the Homeless and Legal Aid to get as many letters as we can from people saying why they think MFIP is important. If you have a personal story, include that. If not, just explain why you think these families really need an increase. If we're going to have people living in dignity and give them a chance to succeed, they need more than the amount of money that they're getting now. There's an email, our weekly email will have the address to that, but otherwise, if you don't read through that, we would like the letters addressed to the members of the conference committee. You could say members of the Health and Human Services Conference Committee or just committee members or something. It's broad address. Send them to our office and we'll be compiling them and making copies and make sure everybody on the committee sees all of them. So that's a big thing that's happening there. On the Senate side, there's not been Senate debate yet on the omnibus bill, but the one that was put together in Health and Human Services did not have an increase in MFIP, and it also not only didn't have an increase in funding for the Child Care Assistance Program, but actually eliminated some funding for that for the next 2 years. So they are putting funding in this draft, this version, in 2022, significant funds again for the Child Care Assistance Program, provided that the commissioner works to have a program that they feel has the integrity that they need. But no state money is allocated for CCAP for next year. As a practical matter, that cannot work. More than half of the money that's funding the program right now is state money. There is significant federal money, but not enough to make a gap. So it's pretty clear that this is posturing as they go into conference committee to say to the House, you want to put more money into the program. We think there's fraud and abuse in the program. Why would we put more money into it? So if you have stories about CCAP, if you're in Jim Abler's district, make sure to share them with him. But that's kind of the lay of land on those issues. Just the all-caller request on these, just as I said again, if you have a Democratic, vote to approve the bills on party lines. If you have a Democratic representative, please call them, write them, leave them a message. If you see them in the store, thank them for supporting the Health and Human Services bill, and especially the MFIP and the child care provisions of that bill. On the Senate side, if you happen to be in Michelle Benson's district or Senator Julie Rosen's district, if you would contact them and say why you think this is so important, that'd be really helpful. Michelle Benson is the chair of the Senate Health and Human Services Finance Committee, and Julie Rosen is the chair of the Finance Committee on the Senate side. So those are those issues. Fees and fines, 2 different bills addressing the driver's license issues. One is being debated today. The transportation omnibus bill is on the floor right now of the House. So both the House transportation and public safety omnibus bills included the provisions that we've been advocating for that would stop the practice of suspending someone's driver's license simply because they are unable to pay. So they continue to be responsible for the debt, but the license would not be suspended. So that's included in both of those bills. I don't have any reason to expect it won't pass on the floor in transportation. Public safety is up next week. I think the bigger issue for discussion in the public safety bill will be the gun control issues. So that'll be interesting debate, and we'll see how that plays out. The second fees and fines issue that we've looked at is the ability of a court to waive a fee, traffic fine or fee, especially the $75 portion of a fee that's automatically put onto any moving violation. They have the authority to do that now with the rest of the fee, but not for the $75. That was included in the Judiciary and Civil Law omnibus bill, and I'm not sure when that's going to be up. Right now, none of those are in anything on the Senate side. So we have a number of things we're working on, especially if you're in Scott Newman's district, you'll be hearing from us about some things we'd like you to do. A couple other issues. Tax omnibus bill was heard in the House today. It passed. It includes, the big things we're really focusing on, it includes an expansion of the working family credit, which promotes work and supports work and is really financially significant for a lot of low and moderate income Minnesotans. And no changes to the renter's credit. And even when they were talking about various amendments on the floor, there's a lot of criticism of the working family credit and why are we giving this funds, but no discussion at all about changing the renter's credit portion. So that's good. That's kind of a sign maybe of what they'll end up with in conference. Diane Loeffler and Paul Marquardt were marvelous champions on the House floor during the tax bill. So if you're in either of those districts, if you'd specifically thank them for that as well. Senate side, no increase to the working family credit, no cut to the renter's credit. So we'll kind of see how that plays out. I'm trying to think of the other issues we've been working on, the security, additional funds for nonprofits to have security against terrorist attacks. The omnibus bills currently on the House side have $300,000 over the biennium. On the Senate side, $150,000 over the biennium. So that's great. I think the gun legislation passed in the House, not on the Senate side. And I'm trying to think of any others. Katie? Driver's license for immigrants passed on the House side and not on the Senate. Before I leave gun safety, I should say that Senator Gazelka has been very vocal about saying he'll consider bills as long as they're are not part of an omnibus bill. If there's a standalone bill on gun safety, he'd hear that, but then he'd hear both from gun safety advocates and from other gun rights advocates. So we'll see kind of how that plays out. But the immigrant driver's license passed on the floor. That over at the Senate, we'll kind of see what happens. The payday lending bill is moved along in the House. No comparable bill in the Senate. I think that's it. So what we'd like you to do, make sure that your legislators keep hearing from you. Let them know that you're praying for them. Make sure that they hear how important it is to you that they care of those families that are really struggling. Just the last piece, this very limited people this will apply to. We talked about the funds we're working on obtaining at the state level for nonprofit security use. The federal grants, which are kind of the first stage of this, if you don't qualify for federal money, then you'd be able to qualify or apply for state money. The federal grants process was just released in their application, and they're due middle of May. And the JRLC, along with the Islamic Center of Minnesota, who's our Muslim partner, are sponsoring a session on Tuesday at noon here in our offices to talk about the process for that. And we're very grateful to ICM for hosting that, and also to the Jewish Community Relations Council for providing personnel that really have expertise in this area and can help people understand the process. So it will be a busy week, a busy weekend, probably at the Capitol, and we'll keep you informed. Thanks so much.